Okay, so for this revision of my macropad, I need to build the box still. I could 3D print a nice box, but I've chosen to make life very hard for myself because I'm going to make the box out of wood. And not just simple MDF or even veneering a 3D printed box to make it look like wood. I'm going to use actual wood. Now, building a box should be a task that I'm perfectly capable of, but the last few I've tried have actually not worked out very well. So what I'm doing with this one, and because I have a limited supply of the particular wood I want to use, I've 3D printed pieces to build the box, and then I'm going to try and replicate those pieces in wood, much like I've done here with this dial on top, which is now a wooden piece. One of the difficulties is the pieces of wood I'm using, I've had to plane to the right thickness to get flat because they're made out of offcuts, and they're not particularly consistent size. So I'm going to cut out the bits I need and then redraft this box for the particular thicknesses that I actually have to make it work. Rather than trying to thickness the wood to the dimensions I need, I'm going to work with what I've got. Okay, I selected my pieces of wood and trimmed them to the approximate sizes. I then measured the thickness of these pieces, and I'm reprinting a new design for each of the pieces because I don't like the shape of the box as it was before. I'll then do a test fit before I start cutting. So this little bit of wood is going to be to cover the keys on the macropad, and I think this is going to be the trickiest bit to deal with. It's quite thin by necessity because the keys aren't very proud, which means it's quite a weak piece of wood and needs a lot of work doing to it. It needs 16 squares cutting into it. I'm going to start off though just by trying to drill 16 holes. But to do that, I need a reference surface, so I'm going to use the shooting board here. Anyway, I've got one end that's good. What do we think? Do we think those have made those holes without breaking it? See, the reason I care, if I've broken anything along that side, I can chop that off and I've still got a usable piece of wood. But if I continue drilling holes and I've got a broken bit there, then I ruin this bit of wood. But the very act of peeling this up off here, or no, maybe it's not going to be as jammed in as I thought. Ah, heck, you know what? I'm just going to drill it. It's either working or it's not, and I haven't got a better plan. Right, well, I put all my eggs in one basket and drilled all the holes in this bit of wood. Which is now well, from the off, it's not obviously broken. So that is something. Okay. Well, I thought from all the creaking and cracking that I'd probably split at least some of those fine points, but not yet. We'll do that when we file it next, because we have to now make these square holes, we now have to make the round holes square. And I have no doubt that I'm going to crack at least one of these whilst trying to file these out to be squares. But we have a plan for that too. There we go. We drilled the holes in this piece of wood using the circle guide. Now I am going to put this piece of wood in prison, in a plastic prison, because I'm completely paranoid about being able to expand these circular holes out to be the square cutouts I need without breaking these fine bits of wood in between them. So hopefully I've printed this case, there we go, which holds that piece of wood nice and snugly. I will put some self-tappers in these little holes. And then I've got on each side this window frame pattern to support, not just to guide where I need to file and cut and chisel and whatnot, but also to support the pieces of wood. So there's a back support on these. Yeah, and I will try and expand these holes without breaking any of the struts in between them. And we'll see how that goes. I think this is the piece of this project which is going to be the most frustrating. I don't really have a fallback at the minute other than borrowing some laser cutter time and trying a laser cutter piece. But I don't know how well this wood will go through a laser cutter because it's natural and not laser grade ply. So yeah, it's this or nothing at the minute, which is perhaps why I'm trying to kind of over engineer this solution for how to do it with hand tools. Okay, well, my bit of wood is now inside its plastic prison. That gives me this grid, 4x4 grid on each side, which I'm trying to enlarge these drilled out holes to. The first thing I did was print a backing piece that actually fills in these holes on the back, because I want the wood supported, because I'm going to try and chisel through first of all to see if I can nibble away at this wood. But it is a hard wood, so this is not going to be like chiseling at ply or MDF or pine. It may put up a bit more resistance, and if I have to end up whacking it with a hammer, then I think I'm going to end up ruining it. So this is a bit of a test. I'm going to start at the outside corners where the wood is best supported and just try and nibble away. Okay, so it's tougher across the grain than up the grain, so these side ones are going to be trickier than the end ones. The end ones are going to split quite nicely. So let's try nibbling off a smaller amount on these ends. Okay, well, that's actually proving suspiciously easy.
when I'm going to get bored. Definitely going to get bored. But I can chisel it out by hand relatively neatly. Okay, so I have patiently turned half of the drilled circles into square holes. And it's going okay. I've not heard any ominous cracks or creaks yet. I think there might be a little bit of tear out, but I'm hoping it's all on the bottom of the piece. Not that I can exactly remember which is the bottom now, but I guess I can flip it if need be. As long as I keep working from the same side, it will be fine. So the plan is to do the next 8 holes, and then I'll start sanding it. I'll probably keep it in its little plastic prison until I've got it sanded. I've got it filed out. The temptation is to remove it and have a look, but I think I just need to suck it up and get it done. Okay, that is 10 out of 16 holes done, and I'm stopping there. And for the first time I can remember, I have successfully used a chisel, there we go, and it's safely away, without cutting myself, which is, wow, genuinely can't remember when that last happened. So that's a good place to stop for the night. So I've finished using the chisel to make squares. It's time to remove the backing piece that was supporting it, if we can. Okay, well, if you're viewed from this side, you can see they're clearly not square, but they are getting there. Getting there. All right, enough of the chiseling. So today, about filing. I have my piece of wood still in its plastic prison, and we chiseled out the corners. After drilling these holes, we chiseled out the corners to make them square-ish, and now I'm just doing the sanding. So what I printed a 10mm block that fits inside the 11mm holes, and if I take a flat piece of sandpaper off the roll, fold it around the stick, and it should fit snugly up against the walls of the things. And we can turn it through 90 degrees 4 times just to confirm got a nice fit in each of the 16 little windows. And the plastic prison is keeping some support for these increasingly thin pieces of wood, the increasingly thin struts of that frame. It's just allowing me to sand off the high points on the wood. Once the paper starts rubbing on the plastic, although the plastic is pretty soft, it just puts enough resistance that it just smooths it out. And we're kind of getting there. Just keep sanding. Once it comes out of this plastic prison, I really don't want to have to put it back in again, so I really mustn't skimp on this bit. Just have to be patient. Okay, I've been as patient as I can be. I've sanded the inside of all of those squares with 2 grades, which probably done more than 2, but I'm ready now to take this bit of wood out of its plastic prison. Okay, so this is the top, and in theory I can take this off here. You might need me to bend the plastic a little bit. There we go. It's free of its plastic prison. And we can go for a crucial test fit. If it doesn't fit, you may hear me crying. Ooh, check that out. How cool is that?